Hello everybody, it's April 4th, 2019. It's about 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I just wanted to do a quick update on Ethereum. It's been a couple of days since the last update, so just want to see where we are after the massive climb up we had the other day. I have the daily chart here. Just to recap, the last three videos I've done, we kind of are referencing everything from this $80 range here. We've been forming this triangle pattern on the weekly chart, and we finally broken out of that as of the other day. So very bullish weekly candle here forming. We've broken out of this triangle, and so yeah, where are we at now? Where are we going? Well, kind of as expected, we're getting a slight pullback here. Like I was saying in the last video, that you just can't make these kinds of moves and break these kind of resistances and not expect to see some kind of retest of some kind. So that's kind of what we're seeing here. Looking at the daily, you can see we're about a half hour now away from the next daily close, but you can see yesterday was just a really volatile day. From where we opened, and the high and the low, I mean, you look at this candle, just huge rejection to the upside, huge rejection to the downside. Very volatile day, very good day for day traders. And now today, we're kind of continuing down, and you can see it's a much smaller candle. Volatility starting to die down a little bit here, but ultimately, we're kind of downtrending right now, which is perfectly fine. You can see the level I have here, 162. I've drawn this fib range, this fib retracement here. Again, we have this range here, and we just drew our fib, and we're kind of just looking for some confluent zones to find some good areas of value. And one of the other extensions I have here is how we kind of form this confluence, and you can see we have this confluence here between the 618 and the 382 of these two separate targets. This fib extension here, it just comes up and retraces to this second point here. And so we've kind of broken out of the triangle, hit this resistance here at 162, and now we're just simply coming down to retest this trend line. I mean, we broke out with huge volume, even more volume the next day, but you can see it was a very volatile day. But we broke out of this line with good volume, so it's just natural that we need to come back down and retest. And one of the zones that I'm looking at here is this 382 618 confluent zone that is also kind of lining up with this trend line. So you can see here, this zone is looking really nice. Let me just get a rectangle out here. And this is where I'm looking, kind of here in this zone for a buy. And I just want to take a look at moving averages, kind of see, you can see we came up and we hit the 200 just perfectly. And now I think we're gonna come down, and I think we're gonna kind of hit the 618 level here. Because you can see there's not much real support in these ranges. When we kind of get up into these ranges, we get these massive candles, these massive moves, very volatile swings kind of in this range. So, it kind of makes sense that we're just going to come down and kind of hit this level at the 8 EMA, the 13 EMA. I mean, these are still, very bullish projections. If we reject off the 8 or the 13, that's a very healthy uptrend. So I think I kind of mentioned that in the last video I did, that we had become so overextended from these moving averages. I mean, you can see here yesterday's daily, like how extended it is from the 8. So price either needs to hang out up here and run flat for a while, or it needs to come down and the 8 needs to come up and meet somewhere in the middle. And that's kind of what's happening right now. You can kind of see that price is starting to kind of come down to this 8, and here's our confluent zone. So moving averages are still looking good on the daily. Still looking, pretty bullish. We're still not technically in a bull market yet because we haven't broken above the 200. But as far as short term goes, we've kind of been above the 55 for a couple weeks now. Moving averages starting to spread out more. So daily's looking good as far as momentum goes. Let me take this out here. As far as momentum goes, again, signal line is above 0. The histogram's down ticking just a little bit, but that doesn't bother me too much. RSI, we're coming back out of the 70 zone, which is fine. I'd imagine we need to come down and retest the 60 range. You can see we have some good, we had some resistance here right at the 60 line for probably about a week, maybe a week and a half. I don't know how long this is. Oh wow, that's 36 days. Okay, so that's like a month. So for like a month, we were hitting this resistance zone here. So now that needs to act as a support for the RSI when it comes back down. So on a daily, this is a slow moving RSI. So we need to zoom in a little bit here into the 4-hour chart and kind of get a better look at the price action and kind of see what's going on here. One thing I do want to do is remove this channel from my chart because we are done with this. Remember in the last video, I think one of the first videos I did was when we just had broken out of that channel and we were kind of just waiting to see what would happen when we got to this trend line here. And price just blew right past it. I mean, you can see it just blew right past it with massive volume. So again, it just makes sense that we would, I originally thought that, well, maybe we're not even going to hit this trend line and we're just going to bounce off this 162 and keep going higher, but we kind of just blew right past that. You can see this huge 4-hour candle. This was a great few hours to trade here if you were trading like the 5-minute chart. Just massive swings, lots of volatility. But then we ended up rejecting this 162 for a good 12 hours or so, almost 24 hours, rejecting that level. And then so those were good signals to go short there. And now we're kind of bouncing off this 34 on the 4-hour. And it would make sense that we kind of come up, touch the 160, maybe touch the 162 again, and kind of work our way down into these ranges. And hopefully we can get down here. This is looking like a good buy zone. Moving averages again looking good. We're above the 200 RSI. We're still in the 50, so we're kind of in a neutral zone right now at the 50 on the 4-hour. That's good. We're seeing an uptick here on the histogram. Wouldn't surprise me to see the signal line kind of come down. Let me get my brush here. Wouldn't be surprised to see this signal line come down and come back up. That would be good. It's good to buy on a crossover on the negative side and kind of sell on a crossover on a positive side. You can see that that's a common trading strategy on the MACD. You kind of just buy these under 50 crossovers. So if you were to buy here at 132 and then you kind of sell at a clean positive crossover. So you got a good trade there. Another trade here. This was the big one. This was the big one. Buy this negative crossover here, sell the positive crossover here. On average, it's not very profitable unless you get a huge swing like this, which only happens every so often, because you actually end up playing the averages when you kind of do this strategy, because these are lagging indicators. So once the lines actually cross over, the move is kind of already started, and same thing for the way back down. So that's kind of a just a simple strategy, but it does work. So that's kind of where we are on the 4-hour. Everything's still looking good. I'll move to the 2-hour, and what I want to do here, see, we're getting ready to cross over on the 2-hour. Histogram's looking good. Still above the 55 on the 2-hour. Maybe we don't even kind of come down here, but I think we do. There's just a lot of confluence here in this range. Maybe we kind of come down and test this 200. It wouldn't surprise me if we kind of break through this area with a wick. We have some we have some some supports we can test here. Kind of this range, 143 being the low end of that range. So maybe we get this low, maybe not. I'm thinking more kind of where I have the box drawn here. Kind of seems like a good range. One thing I do want to do, if we're talking targets, where are we going when we do find support? Well, let me get rid of these moving averages. And what we can do is, let me go to a 4-hour chart, and I want to take a fib extension, or a fib retracement with an extension. And let's take this range here, and let's try to find, see, a 1-to-1 going on the -1. That gives you a 1-to-1 of this move, 227, which is near the top of this range here. So that's a natural target there, kind of the 198, 200. That's a good psychological number. Same thing here. You're noticing the 236 is matching up with our 618 on the retracement I just drew. See that? Again, kind of in that buy zone, so we can kind of tighten that up. Kind of in between those two lines right there, right on that trend line. See what kind of moving averages we have lining up here. Oh yeah, right at the 55. So it's looking pretty good on a 4-hour chart. This is looking like a good level here. I might consider buying here with a stop loss kind of slightly below, so if let's see here, what we can also do is, let's see if we can find some confluence with an extension tool. Just not really seeing many clean waves here. Oh, what we can do is, let's extend this out. Extend this out to a 1-to-1. Okay, so you can see, let's do a 168. So just extending out this fib extension here that I already had, the larger one from the daily. I drew my one extension from down here at $80 up to when we went to around 160, high 150 range, and then we came back down to 100. And then, so that gave us our 618 confluence zone we've been looking at. Extend that out 1-to-1. You can see that was a perfect target. So perfect target there, right in between the 0.5 and the 618. So that's a nice target there. And if we look higher, look what we see. We have a 1.618 and a 1 extension confluence zone, right around the 220 range. So, who knows how long it takes for that to play out, but for a long-term trade, like for a long-term trade setup, if I'm looking to buy here, maybe I'm setting a stop loss for, depending on where you're targeting. If you're targeting this range up here, 50%, that's a RR23. I mean, you can really, a 4-to-1 is respectable. A 4-to-1, geez, that puts you a 10% stop loss. So that's a very, very generous stop. If I'm playing a tight stop, if I'm playing margin, and I'm playing a tight stop, maybe I'm only going 1-2%. But regardless, the target is what matters. 50%. If we manage to come down and test this trend line and work our way up, we hit these 220 ranges, that's a 50%. Something a little shorter term, you'd have to kind of go into a 1-hour chart maybe, kind of look at this move we made here. I'm going to end up drawing a lot of lines here, but we can retrace this. These strategies, they work the same on all time frames. So you can see here, just retracing this move we made here, we're kind of finding support at the 618. So we have our extension here. again, 1-to-1 is putting us up at the 217. Take an extension tool, kind of do the same thing, try to find some confluence. Do something like this. 1-to-1 would be 192. Look what we have. Everything is kind of pointing to this 216, 220 range. So, you know, that's not looking too bad right now. A lot of confluence in this zone. I'm gonna draw a rectangle up here. I'm seeing 3 fib levels. 3 fib levels right here in this range, 216 to 220. So yeah, this is looking good. Let's just take a look now at the 4-hour. Let's try to clean up this chart a little bit. Got a lot of lines going on here. A lot of lines. But this is how we find these confluent zones. You know, we look for where the most fib levels, where does everything kind of line up. And so that's what I'm seeing. So yeah, as far as I'm looking, if I'm looking at a trade setup right now, I might be looking to buy here. And really, you know, the stop all depends on your risk tolerance. You know, it depends on how much you're playing, how much of a range you want to accumulate in. You know, if you're playing a smaller position, your risk tolerance is a little greater than, you know, if you're playing margin. So, you know, this is kind of looking like a decent trade setup here. You know, I might kind of refine this and maybe post this on the site, but definitely looking at these levels. You know, a 4-hour play. Definitely looking at these levels. These levels are looking good. So yeah, that's what we're looking at, and we'll see you on the next one.